And as promised, here is the Pomodoro recipe. Once you know piccata, you already know Pomodoro. This is a separate meal that you already know the basics of. What we're going to do is we're just going to slice up some Roma tomatoes. This is going to take the place of our lemon. So this is going to be the acid of our recipe. And we've already got the heat. In fact, I've got the heat going because this is going to come together very quickly. We just cut these up. They do not have to be perfectly sized. There are some people that say they have to be perfectly sized in order to cook all at the same time. Now that's true. You don't want overly large chunks and overly small chunks because yes, they will cook differently. However, for the most part, if they are about the same size, they'll cook at the same time, and you will not have to spend a lot of time with your chopping. You can just chop through these really quickly, just like that. We've got the rest of our ingredients in place, like we talked about. There's our tomatoes. We've got a little bit of green onion, the tops of the green onions for a little bit of garnish. For our fat, we're going to take out the butter and we're going to add cream. We've got our chicken stock, and we've got a little bit of lemon juice to help with that acid. And so we are going to salt and pepper. We're going to salt and pepper our cutlets. And so we have got our salt, our heat, right? Because we think of heat in two ways. We think of it through the terms of the heat that we're doing with the cooking, but also the little bit of heat that we want on our taste buds. Remember, we want both sides to be happy. Just like that. Pepper. We're going to put our oil on. Again, we're going to want it to be loose and shimmering. We're going to throw our cutlets into our dredging flour. We'll move the cutting board out of the way. We will dredge the cutlets so that we get that nice, beautiful brown coating. We're going to do a quick wash here. While our oil comes together. Off. Take a look at our oil. Oh, that's looking good. And again, we're using about 2 tablespoons of oil. Keep our hands clean. We'll use a fork. Put it in, away from us. Just get the excess off, just like that. This will be our turning fork. We've got our tongs ready to go, our whisk ready to go. And again, we're just a little bit over medium here. And chicken pomodoro is another Italian recipe. And so you can do this over angel hair pasta, spaghetti. You can also do this over rice. This is very good over rice as well. And you can see that we've got a nice layer of oil, so our cutlets aren't sticking overly much, and they've released fairly quickly. Again, we're going to be watching the side of the cutlet. We're going to be looking for that opaque color to start moving up through the meat. About the time that it gets to the middle of the meat, we should have that nice browning. It all occurs at about the same time. We'll flip that over so that we're cooking the raw side up through the middle again. We will do a temperature check. We'll have our thermometer ready to go. And it isn't particularly stringent that you have to have a thermometer. If you're looking at your meat very carefully, you'll be able to see when it's done. The juices should run clear, should be that nice opaque color. I do it for food safety. Most home cooks probably don't even have a thermometer to check things. You just have to be careful and watch and make sure that you're cooking all the way through. And again, we're using all of our senses as we cook. You can smell, when you start to cook flour, flour has a different smell when it's raw as opposed to when it is cooked. And so we're smelling whether or not that flour is browning up and losing that raw flour smell. And we'll take a quick look. These are browning up nicely. Now this recipe, Pomodoro, we normally deglaze the pan with vodka. If you do not have vodka in the house, chicken stock, any liquid will deglaze a pan just as well as the white wine that we used for the chicken piccata. I don't have any vodka in the house, and so I'm not going to deglaze the pan with the vodka. I'm going to deglaze it with my chicken stock. But if you did have vodka, you would only need maybe a quarter cup to deglaze the pan. And what you would do is, because vodka can flame up, you would take your pan from the heat, you would add the vodka, let it deglaze, and then you'd place it back on the flame. Since I work with an open flame, if we deglaze it in the pan here, it has a tendency to flame up in the pan, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You just have to be very careful. And again, these are coming together very nicely. We'll give them a little shake, and they're coming off the bottom of the pan very nicely. And we can see that the opaque color is moving up through the middle. In fact, I think these are ready to flip over. Let's put that in the sink. And because, so this is what I would call the presentation side. Your first side is probably always going to look just a little bit better than your second side. So when I serve, I try to put the presentation side up just so that it looks a little bit better. We're looking good here. Those are browning up nicely. Sometimes a little bit of your oil will get taken up by the flour. You may need to add just a little bit of oil. I add it off to the side so that it can come up to temperature before it gets to the food. And that will help those cutlets to fry up a little bit easier. And just move these around. They're looking just beautiful. Again, we've got that beautiful brown fond on the bottom of the pan that's going to join in with the sauce to give it a real nice flavor. These, I'm going to check my thicker cutlet. I am at temperature, and so I can pull these cutlets off, place them in my oven so that they stay warm, and I will add chicken stock. That will deglaze the pan. I'm going to add a little lemon juice. I'm actually going to turn the heat all the way off because I've got enough heat to finish this off, and I don't want it to be too hot when I add the cream. So I've got the basis of the sauce right there. I'm going to add the tomatoes. Adding the potatoes is going to cool that sauce off just a little bit, because when we add the cream, if it is too hot, you can actually cook the cream or curdle it. And sometimes what we'll do is what's called tempering. We'll add a little bit of the hot liquid to the cold liquid to bring that cold liquid up in temperature a little bit so that it's less likely to cook when it hits the pan. We'll add our cream. We'll give this a nice shake just like that. Now again, we would throw our rice or pasta on the plate. You could even do mashed potatoes with this. We're going to place that there. We're going to put the sauce over it, just like that. We're going to take our green onions for a little bit of color. And just like that, you've now got chicken Pomodoro.